Surprise.
Now Amanda will finally have the luxury she deserves. My mother-in-law's voice echoed through the phone, dripping with satisfaction. I stood in my kitchen, staring at the bank alert that had just popped up on my phone, a $2 million transaction I definitely hadn't authorized. My name is Olivia Parker, and at 34, I never expected to be the victim of identity theft by my own mother-in-law, Barbara Thompson. She'd always made it clear that her daughter Amanda was the golden child. Well, I was just the woman who trapped her precious son into marriage. "Barbara," I said, keeping my voice steady despite the rage building inside me. "Did you just use my information to buy Amanda a yacht?" "Oh, don't be so dramatic," he laughed. "It's not like you need all that credit. Besides, Amanda has always dreamed of having her own yacht. You're just being selfish, sitting on all that good credit while my poor daughter struggles." I thought about the years I'd spent building my perfect credit score, the careful financial planning, the sacrifices. Now, in one swoop, Barbara had potentially ruined everything. But instead of exploding, I smiled, remembering the conversation I'd had with my bank's fraud department just last month. "Congratulations," I said calmly. "I hope Amanda enjoys her new yacht." Barbara's triumphant tone faltered slightly at my lack of reaction. "Well, yes, she will. She deserves this, you know. Unlike some people, she comes from real family money." I almost laughed at the irony. Barbara had no idea about the safety nets I put in place after catching her snooping through my financial documents during Christmas dinner. The hidden cameras in my home office had caught her photographing my Social Security card and bank statements while everyone else was busy with holiday celebrations. "Is there anything else, Barbara?" I asked pleasantly. "I'm actually expecting an important call." "No, that's all," she replied, sounding uncertain. "You're taking this better than expected." After hanging up, I immediately called my husband, David. He answered on the third ring, sounding distracted. "Hey, honey, I'm in the middle of a meeting. Your mother just used my Social Security number to buy Amanda a $2 million yacht," I said without preamble. The silence on the other end was deafening. "What?" David finally managed. "That's impossible. Mom wouldn't." "Check your phone," I interrupted. "I just sent you the transaction alert and a video clip from our security cameras showing her going through my office during Christmas." I heard him inhale sharply as he presumably watched the footage. "I'll be home in 20 minutes, he said, his voice tight with anger. While waiting for David, I made 2 calls. The first was to Special Agent Torres at the Coast Guard Investigative Service, whom I contacted after first discovering Barbara's snooping. The second was to my bank's fraud department, confirming that everything was being tracked and documented as we planned. David burst through the door exactly 18 minutes later, his face flushed with a mixture of anger and embarrassment. "I just got off the phone with Amanda," he said, running a hand through his hair. "She's already posting pictures of a yacht on Instagram. She says Mom gave it to her as an early birthday present. I had no idea." "Of course you didn't," I said softly, touching his arm. "Your mother has always been careful to keep her manipulations hidden from you." He sank into a kitchen chair, looking defeated. "What are we going to do?" "Actually," I said, pulling out my laptop, "everything's already in motion. After I caught your mother going through my office, I contacted several authorities. They've been waiting for her to make a move." David looked up, surprised. "You knew she would do something like this?" I nodded, pulling up the email from Agent Torres. "Your mother has a pattern. 3 years ago, she tried to access Amanda's ex-husband's financial accounts. Before that, there were 2 other incidents with family members. She's never faced consequences because everyone was too afraid to press charges. But this time," David started. "This time she stole my identity to make a $2 million purchase," I finished. "And unlike her previous victims, I've documented everything." My phone buzzed with a text from Agent Torres. "Coast Guard has located the vessel. Standing by for your go-ahead." I showed the message to David. He stared at it for a long moment before nodding slowly. "Do it," he said quietly. "Mom needs to learn she can't keep doing this to people." I typed a quick response to Agent Torres, then turned back to my husband. "Are you sure this will change everything with your family?" David reached across the table and took my hand. "You are my family," he said firmly. And it's time someone stood up to Mom's manipulation. As if on cue, my phone rang again. It was Barbara. Her voice now changed with panic. The Coast Guard is at the marina. They're saying something about fraud investigation. You need to tell them this was authorized. Actually, Barbara, I said calmly, I don't need to tell them anything, but I'm sure you'll have plenty to explain. You little, she started, but I cut her off. Goodbye, Barbara. I believe the investigators will want to speak with you now. I ended the call and looked at David, who was staring out the window with a mixture of sadness and determination. Agent Torres said they'll probably want to speak with us tomorrow, I said gently. Are you ready for that? He turned to me, his jaw set. You know what? I am. It's about time someone showed Mom that her actions have consequences. As we sat there in our kitchen, the sun setting outside our window, I thought about how different this scene was from what Barbara had probably imagined. She'd expected me to break down, to beg, to cause a scene. Instead, her perfectly planned power play was unraveling, and she had no idea that this was just the beginning. My phone buzzed again, a news alert about a fraud investigation involving a newly purchased yacht. I showed it to David, who read it silently before looking up at me with a mix of admiration and resolve. You know Amanda's going to be devastated, he said. I nodded. Yes, but maybe this will finally break the cycle. Your sister needs to learn she can't keep benefiting from your mother's schemes. The sound of more incoming messages filled the kitchen, probably flying texts from various family members as news of the Coast Guard's intervention spread. But for now, we let them go unanswered. Tomorrow would bring its own challenges. But tonight, we had taken the first step toward ending Barbara's reign of financial manipulation. And somewhere in the harbor, a $2 million yacht was about to become evidence in a federal investigation. The next morning dawned with a barrage of missed calls and angry text messages. Amanda had posted a tearful Instagram story about how I was destroying the family, while Barbara's friends were flooding social media with posts about how some people couldn't understand the meaning of family generosity. I sat across from Agent Torres in her office, the morning sun streaming through the windows of the Coast Guard Investigative Service building. David sat beside me, his hands steady and mine, as we went through the evidence. Mrs. Parker, Agent Torres said, sliding a folder across her desk, the documentation you provided is extremely thorough. Your mother-in-law didn't just steal your identity for the yacht purchase. We've uncovered multiple attempts to access your accounts over the past 3 months. She pulled out a series of photographs, screenshots from our security cameras showing Barbara methodically going through my office drawers, copying documents, and even attempting to access my computer. There's more, Agent Torres said. She continued, her expression serious. The yacht purchase was just the tip of the iceberg. Mrs. Thompson apparently used your information to open several credit cards in your name. She's been funding your sister-in-law's lifestyle for months. David's grip on my hand tightened. How much? He asked, his voice low. Close to $3 million in total, Agent Torres replied. The yacht was her boldest move, but there were numerous smaller transactions, designer clothes, jewelry, even a small condo in Miami. I felt the blood drain from my face. Even though I suspected Barbara's schemes ran deep, the actual scale was staggering. How did she think she'd get away with this? I asked. Agent Torres smiled grimly. According to our interview with her this morning, she believed family loyalty would prevent you from pressing charges. She seemed quite shocked when we explained the federal nature of these crimes. Just then, my phone buzzed with a text from my bank's fraud investigator. Additional attempts to access your accounts detected this morning. Mrs. Thompson tried to transfer funds using your compromised information. I showed the message to Agent Torres, who shook her head in disbelief. Even after being questioned, she's still trying. This definitely strengthens our case. David stood up suddenly, pacing the office. I need to talk to Amanda, he said. She needs to understand she can't keep the things Mom bought with stolen money. As if on cue, my phone lit up with Amanda's name. I put it on speaker. How could you do this to me? She shrieked. The Coast Guard seized my yacht. Do you know how humiliating that was? All my friends were there. Amanda, I said calmly, That yacht was purchased with stolen money, using my stolen identity. It was never yours. Mom was just trying to help me. She shot back. Unlike you, I wasn't born with a silver spoon. Some of us have to rely on family. David grabbed the phone. Amanda, stop. Mom committed federal crimes. She's looking at serious charges. And you, he paused, looking at Agent Torres, who nodded. You might be investigated as an accessory if you knew about this. There was a long silence on the other end. When Amanda spoke again, her voice was smaller, frightened. What do you mean, accessory? I didn't do anything wrong. Agent Torres leaned forward. Miss Thompson, this is Agent Torres with Kai's. We'll need to speak with you about the extent of your knowledge regarding these fraudulent purchases. I suggest you retain legal counsel. The call ended abruptly. David sank back into his chair, looking exhausted. I can't believe this is happening. Agent Torres gathered her papers. Mr. and Mrs. Parker, we'll need you to come in tomorrow to sign some additional documents. For now, I suggest you both go home and rest. The next few days will be challenging. As we drove home, the city skyline seemed different somehow, as if the whole world had shifted on its axis. David hadn't spoken much since leaving Agent Torres's office, but as we pulled into our driveway, he turned to me. I got an email from Mom, he said quietly. She's demanding I choose between you and my family. She says, if I don't get you to drop the charges, I'm no longer her son. I felt my heart break for him. David, He held up his hand. Don't apologize. You did exactly what you should have done. Mom's been manipulating everyone for years, and it's time it stopped. Inside, we found several voicemails from Barbara's sister, my aunt-in-law, Margaret. Unlike the others, her message was different. Olivia, David, her voice was thick with emotion. I just wanted you to know Barbara did the same thing to me 3 years ago. I was too ashamed to say anything then, but I'm willing to testify now. You're not alone in this. More calls started coming in, other family members with similar stories. Barbara's web of financial manipulation stretched back years, but everyone had been too afraid or embarrassed to speak up. Around dinner time, another call came from Agent Torres. Mrs. Parker, we found something interesting. It seems your mother-in-law has been running a sort of family Ponzi scheme. She's been stealing from various family members to pay off debts to others, always staying one step ahead of discovery. I put the phone on speaker so David could hear. The yacht purchase, Agent Torres continued, was actually an attempt to hide money from another investigation. We've contacted the FBI. Financial Crimes Unit? David's face went pale. Other investigation, yes, Agent Torres replied. Your mother has been under surveillance for suspected money laundering through her charity foundation. The yacht purchase helped us connect several dots. After the call ended, David and I sat in stunned silence. The scope of Barbara's crimes was expanding by the hour, far beyond what either of us had imagined. My phone pinged with a news alert. A local station was running a story about the yacht seizure. Within minutes, Amanda was calling again, but this time her tone was different. Olivia, she said, her voice shaking, I swear I didn't know about Mom's other schemes. She told me she had permission to help me using family money. I never thought. She broke down crying. I looked at David, who nodded slowly. Amanda, I said, if you really didn't know, you need to cooperate with the investigation. Tell them everything Mom told you. I will, she whispered. I'm so sorry. As night fell, David and I sat on our back porch trying to process everything that had happened in the past 24 hours. The string lights we hung last summer cast a soft glow, making everything feel almost normal. Agent Torres thinks there might be more victims, David said quietly. Other family members who haven't come forward yet. I reached for his hand. Your mother's actions are not your responsibility. He squeezed my hand back. I know, but I can't help thinking about all the times I dismissed people's complaints about her. How many times did I look the other way because it was easier than facing the truth? Before I could respond, both our phones lit up with a breaking news alert. Barbara Thompson had been arrested while attempting to board a flight to the Cayman Islands. The house of cards was finally falling, and we were watching it happen in real time. A month after Barbara's arrest, I sat in our living room surrounded by paperwork from various investigators. The full scope of her financial crimes had been staggering. Nearly $12 million stolen from 15 different family members over 8 years. The yacht purchase that had finally exposed everything was just the grand finale of her elaborate scheme. "The FBI wants to interview you again," David said, walking in with 2 cups of coffee. "They've linked Mom's charity foundation to some major tax fraud cases." I accepted the coffee gratefully. "How's Amanda doing?"
"Better," he sighed.
"The therapy seems to be helping. She started looking for a real job, and she's cooperating fully with the investigation. Yesterday, she gave them access to all the gifts Mom bought her over the years." The transformation in Amanda had been unexpected but welcome. After the initial shock wore off, she'd been horrified to discover how many people her mother had hurt. She'd voluntarily surrendered everything purchased with stolen money and had even started reaching out to make amends with family members. My phone buzzed. Another message from Aunt Margaret. She'd become an unexpected ally, helping coordinate other victims and ensuring everyone's stories were heard. "Meeting tomorrow at 2 p.m. with the victim support group. More people coming forward." The support group had been Margaret's idea. As more family members discovered the extent of Barbara's
deception,
they needed a safe space to share their experiences and heal. It was helping to rebuild bonds that Barbara had systematically destroyed over the years. "Did you see this?" David handed me his tablet, showing a local news article. The headline read, "Prominent Socialite's Family Fraud Scheme Leads to New Identity Theft Prevention Bill." I skimmed the article, which detailed how our case had inspired state legislators to propose stronger protections against familial identity theft. Barbara's crimes had exposed a significant gap in existing laws. The assumption that family members wouldn't steal from each other often led to delayed investigations and complicated prosecutions. "Your mother's legacy," I said softly, "might end up being positive change, just not in the way she intended." David sat beside me, wrapping an arm around my shoulders. "I got another letter from her today," he admitted. "She's still trying to justify everything. Says she only did it because she loves her family and wanted to help herself to other people's money." I corrected gently. He nodded. "I know. It's just hard to reconcile the mom I thought I knew with the person in these investigation reports."
The doorbell rang.
It was Agent Torres with an update. "Good news," she said, settling into our armchair. "We've recovered about 70% of the stolen assets so far. The yacht has been sold at auction, and the proceeds will be distributed among the victims." She pulled out her tablet. "There's more. Mrs. Thompson's detailed records actually helped us uncover 3 other major fraud rings. She kept meticulous notes about everyone she encountered in her activities." "Of course she did," David muttered. "Mom always was organized." Agent Torres smiled sympathetically. "The prosecutor is offering a plea deal. In exchange for her cooperation in these other cases, they're recommending a reduced sentence. Still significant time, but less than if this goes to trial." After she left, David and I walked to our favorite spot in the backyard garden. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the flowers we planted together last spring. "You know what's ironic?" I said, watching a butterfly land on one of the blooms. "Your mother always claimed I wasn't good enough for this family, that I didn't understand the importance of family loyalty. But in the end, her actions brought the real meaning of family to light." David pulled me close. "You showed more loyalty by standing up to her than anyone who enabled her behavior, including me. We all did what we thought was right at the time." I reminded him, "What matters is what we do now." That evening, we hosted a small dinner for Amanda and Aunt Margaret. The conversation was different now. No more artificial pleasantries or underlying tensions. Instead, there was honest discussion about healing, accountability, and moving forward. "I found all my old journals," Amanda said over dessert. "Reading them now, I can see how Mom manipulated everyone, playing us against each other. I'm so sorry I was part of that, Olivia." "We all were," Margaret added. "But thanks to you standing up to her, we have a chance to build something better." Later, after our guests had left, David and I sat on the porch swing listening to the evening crickets. My phone buzzed one last time, a message from Agent Torres. Final victim count is in 23 family members over 10 years. Your case stopped it from becoming 24. I showed David the message. He was quiet for a moment before speaking. You know, when this all started with the yacht purchase, I was terrified it would tear our family apart. Instead, it's helping us build a stronger one. I thought about the support group meetings, the renewed connections between family members, the honest conversations that were finally happening. Barbara's schemes had been built on isolation and secrecy, but their exposure had created unity and truth. Your mother wanted to be the family center of power, I said. Instead, she taught us all how to stand on our own. As the stars began to appear in the darkening sky, I felt a deep sense of peace. The past months had been challenging, but they'd led to something valuable, a family rebuilt on honesty, mutual respect, and real loyalty. David squeezed my hand. Ready to go in? I nodded, taking one last look at the peaceful garden.
Yes.
Tomorrow's another day of rebuilding. And in that moment, I knew that while Barbara's crimes had caused pain, they also paved the way for genuine healing. Sometimes, the greatest gift you can give a family is the courage to face the truth, no matter how difficult it might be.